Yo, 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 what's going on? It's your boy, CD Rome from Watch Your Narrative Podcast, episode 2 here. Episode 2. This is Watch Your Narrative Presents the League. So once again, if you do not know, if you've been under a rock, of course, me and a group of brothers have come together, created a nice league that we all anticipate or participate in. And of course, the new NBA 2K25 has already came out. The new league starts very, very, very soon. Last episode, if you have not heard last episode, please go back and listen. It is going to be Watch Your Narratives mock draft. Today we got our two captains, 2 out of our 5 captains here. We got Bryant B. Moore. What's up, B?
What's up?
Yeah, what's up, man? Certified Boogeyman, Hot Sauce, bunch of different names. What's up, man? And
What's up, man?
and then we got Yote from Great Britain. What's up, man?
What's up, man? First off, can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, yeah, we got you. We got you good.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So of course, Yodi, who just recently was matter of fact, he's the defending champion of the ZBL league. Just won. So if of course, I'm pretty sure I have, but I'm gonna give you your flowers on Watch Your Narrative as well, man, to say congratulations. Very well deserved. Actually your second championship, one of the only guys to go. And I know it was a different league, but
Yeah.
from season to season, going back to back, man. Like, how was that? How was that feeling to finally get that done? Because we've done, I don't know, 8 to 10 seasons, and you know,
hmm
so like, how did that feel to finally get that monkey off your back, so to speak?
It was definitely refreshing, man, because think about the amount of seasons that most of us have um been fortunate enough to participate in. I think it was definitely overdue, especially being considered one of the good ones, one of the good players in the league. You know how that goes. It's no different from the NBA. If you don't win championships, how good are you?
Mm-hmm.
So until I was able to kind of like figure it out and put it together to where I was able to win not one but two, it was very refreshing. It was
Mm-hmm.
definitely very refreshing, and it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was validation that I am
Yeah.
one of the good ones. You
Yeah.
know, I play the game the right way. I hope, and it translated. So, now for sure, it was definitely it was fun. It was fun
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah. And to stay on that too, like, myself being here from the beginning, and even before we even started the league play itself, as you mentioned, you were one of the top players, and specifically, you and Greg. I know somebody asked, what that rivalry between you and Greg, like, what would people compare it to? And everybody had these comparisons. Me personally, I said Magic Bird. I'm sorry, Magic and Bird. And the reason being is because Magic and Bird, although they weren't the beginning of the NBA, they were the start of the modern era almost. That particular
Mhm.
rivalry brought so much attention to the league itself, and then of course they both went on to do great things, win championships, MVPs, which you and Greg have both done as well. Uh,
Yeah.
so to that, from that, speaking to that rivalry, like, how has that been? How did that also elevate your play to want to be, what you are?
Well, I would say I think it's healthy. It's healthy competition for the league and between us. Because at the end of the day, once we, you know, take our virtual jerseys off,
Right.
we tight. Well, that's my homie in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's healthy competition. We push one another. Um, we challenge each other in ways that other people don't challenge one another, and I think it makes both of us better because Greg got the edge on me in certain areas. I got the edge on him in certain areas. Um, but I think it's just iron and sharpening iron. Even though it is not that's like not the objective. That's ultimately what ends up happening. We just sharpen one another. But it's definitely motivated me to try to continue to keep up in my style of play.
Mhm.
I don't never want anybody to best me. So if Greg want to challenge me in that way, I won't just sit here and let him succeed in that. I gotta have some fight in me. He's the same way. He'll probably
Yeah,
say the exact same thing. He's not gonna just he ain't gonna let me stomp around on his grounds without him having a
exactly.
response. So I
Exactly.
respect it. It's respect both ways, despite how anybody may view it. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's just healthy competition.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's good though. I mean, at the end of the day, we do this for fun, and like you mentioned before, it's uh it's a virtual thing. But the thing is about it, man, you know, most of the people in the league, whether it's married or you got your work, you got all these different responsibilities, man, like it's good to and refreshing to just kind of have that one thing that's supposed to be fun, still a little bit of competitive as well, but
Yeah.
just something fun, that you can
Yeah.
a bunch of and people that we would have never met. And speaking of which, Brian, right, so that leads me
Yeah.
there because I would have met you regardless, like because we're close
Yeah.
proximity and we know a lot of the same people, so we would have
For sure.
crossed paths eventually anyway. But with Brian, however, maybe not. But because of this league, now we've crossed paths. And so, Brian, for you, this is not your first time captain, or is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, so so tell me about the first time you captain. What was the outcome? Like, how did that go? What did you learn from being a captain the first go around?
I learned a lot. I learned you know, the ins and outs, I guess, of actually, trying to lead a team into a chip. Um, a lot of people wanted to say, Ajante was the real captain, but Ajante, I think, just kind of guided me on who we wanted to pick for the team. Um, and me being first time captain, he was my first pick at the time. I just kind of listened to him. But this time around, I think I have my own, way and style I want to draft and everything. I'm ready to take that lead. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think that just from a guy who's been a captain as well, um, I I think it's you have to do that. To anybody who's kind of like, feel like, hey, you just draft and you just know you just can't, like, you gotta as a person who's won a championship as a captain as well. Yote's won as well. And I guess I'll ask Yote the question, like, how much do you lean into your number one pick, or like how much, like, do you ask them, hey, who do you want to play with, or what style of basketball do you want to play? Like, how much do you take into consideration that aspect of your number one top player?
You start with me or Brian?
Yo, going to you.
Well, for me, man, I just like last year and the year before that, I can't remember who was my first pick with strictly business, but last year with the Raptors, man, I picked DeJounte and I knew that was gonna be my running mate. So me and him kind of put our heads together to figure out who would be a good fit, how because ultimately the engine for the offense is usually the PG, and there's a lot of other pieces that kind of contribute to the direction that we're going in. So if your point guard is not comfortable with his personnel, how far can you really go? So you
Yeah.
kind of have to, well, for me, in my case, I had to consult with Ajante to see like what pieces can help him, go in a positive direction so that we all can go in that same direction. So yeah, we did consult one another in that way. But when you get on the court, everybody have play styles that either work together or don't work together. You will hope that you draft in a way where everybody work together.
Mhm.
Everybody have a role and they contribute to the ultimate goal of winning the championship. So I did a lot of consulting with Ajante, but on the court, I kind of let him lead the offense. I led the defense, pilot,
Yeah.
co-pilot, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said before, I think that's healthy with a team. It's a team thing. It's a team where it takes five guys to win this thing. So, and everybody has to be on one accord. But everybody can't lead, so
Yeah.
sometimes you got to follow, but you do got to have, leaders. So in Brian's case, man, you have the number one pick of the whole entire draft. Very, very hard spot to be in. I do not envy you. I would not want to be in that particular spot because, as we talked about it last night in the chat, I like if the number one pick, if there was such a wide gap in talent, then it's worth it. But this year so far, there's not that one player that stands above, like I'm talking about just that Michael Jordan
I agree.
or LeBron James. You got some really, really great talented guys, but the gap is just not that wide. From
Yeah.
1 and 2 to 3, probably your first 4 to 5 picks, I mean, maybe even 6 picks, that gap is not that wide. So Brian, this question is for you. Like, do you like having a number one pick, or what is going in your mind going into the draft with this number one? What are you looking for? Because I know you're playing power forward, center. You don't have to, reveal too much of your, what you're looking to do, but just kind of like what type of style are you looking for, or with the number one pick?
Yeah, so I mean, like I told you before, like last night, I wasn't really wanting the number one pick. Considering the last time I was captain, I had the number one pick. So I really didn't think it would go too well with me having the number one pick because I'm not one of those guys like y'all like to call them. I'm not a first round pick either. I'm more of a role player. So I feel like having a last pick would better suit me, because then I could get back to back picks in the first and second round. Um, and I would be able to, kind of balance out my team so the way that I feel like we could win.
I got you. I got you. So with that being said, is there a thought process? I mean, are you looking to trade down, or what's your plan?
Um, I mean, I don't want to give too much details on, exactly what I want to do, but I will say that, uh, whatever it's gonna take for me to win, I'm gonna do it. So if that means, keeping my first round pick and, using it to my best ability, I'll do that. Or,
Mhm.
trying to trade up, I'll do that. So I think once the whole draft board comes out and we know, who's playing what, you know, what kind of bills everybody got, that'll give me a little bit more um vision on where or how I want to do things.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you guys have not heard my mock draft yet. So but keeping, and I'm just gonna reveal a little bit of it, because it will be already revealed in episode 1. Um the first pick that I recommended was Ajante, specifically for you. And I specifically said in my episode as well that if it was Yote with the first pick, I would completely change the way I would go. So it's one of those situations where I'm not saying Ajante because he is in fact the best player, but it's more so the fit. Because if you're looking to play 4/5, then obviously you need a guard that's gonna be, a top tough guard in the league. And there's a lot of point guards in the league, or there's a lot of guards, but only a few specifically that have, ran that point guard position and actually won titles off of that point guard position. So speaking of which, for you, Yote, you've played point before, you've played 2, you played 3. Um, what are you looking to do this season? As far as I know that it's very early, you're at the back of the draft. So you're, the complete opposite of what Brian is. Is that a preferred position? Do you feel like you can be successful from that particular spot, or would you prefer another draft spot?
Um, I think is I think is an interesting approach that I had to take with having the last pick in the first round, considering I had the first pick last season. So I'm going from one extreme to another.
Yeah, yeah,
Start with the
big
first
time.
pick last season, then I'm at the last pick this season. I thought I would land somewhere between three. Ideally, I would have preferred to have like the three spot to kind of see what I can make happen out of it. But I'm not mad with back to back picks either. It's just a concern as to who will be there by the time it gets to me. And that's what's making me consider what I need to run on, like what build that I probably will end up having to run on, depending on who's available. Because to be quite honest, man, you had just corrected yourself when you said point guards and you just said guards. That is absolutely true, man. I'm not too happy with a lot of the point guard play that I've seen from the current players in the league, just
Yeah,
like from running from day to day. There's only a few that I'm like, okay, we can make something work there. But the vast majority, I am not pleased with them because I think the problem with this 2K is that they give you so many attributes, people forget why they're playing the role that they're playing, like a
hmm
PG. Like, I'm
hmm
not saying traditionally you got to be Rondo and
right,
or Chris Paul where you need to always look to pass first. Because sometimes the passes is not available. You got to be able to be a threat as well from the perimeter, the midi, whatever the case may be. But I just feel like because 2K give you so many attributes on these small guards that people they they blur the lines as to what their responsibilities should be to help win. Like they think because they get a high three ball, they get a high dunk, high. They feel like they just that's their only purpose. That's their only role instead of like being what they need to be for the team. And I think that's the reason why we get a lot of bad point guards this season. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of considering what bill I need to be on, and depending on who's available, that's I'm gonna have to kind of go. I'm gonna have to move accordingly, so to
right.
speak.
Yeah,
But I'm interested. I'm interested to see how the chips fall.
yeah. So speaking of that, so like I'm glad you mentioned that. So like I do feel the same way that it's not a lot of point guards, a lot of guards, but not a lot of point guards,
Yeah,
or specifically, the ones that you would want to run your show.
yeah,
But then on the other side of that, though, the center aspect. I mean, there are a bunch of, well, really, there's not a bunch of centers either. So,
yeah.
Brian, in your case, you plan on playing that power forward center position. I mean, how pleased are you with the? I mean, or is there any door that could open where you may say, "Hey, I'm going to actually draft a center so I can go maybe to a lock or a power forward position." Like, what are your thoughts on the crop of centers that we have, power forward centers that we have?
I I'm not too happy, I guess, about the point guards either. Everybody was saying, it's gonna be centers going first in the first round,
Yeah,
but from the look of things, I think the first three picks are bigs. I consider myself a big. I know a lot of people don't think I'm a great big or nothing like that, but um, I really feel like this year I could step up to the plate and do what needs to be done. So I think in the first round, point guards are very going to be very valuable because, like you said, there's not that many actual point guards. Um, and if it so happens that I'm able to get another big that can fulfill that role, and then I can step up to the lock position, power forward lock position like I want to, I'll do that. But right now, uh, like I said, it's not looking that way.
yeah, yeah. So, and let me say this too. This is watching narrative, right? The show was created initially because of the narratives created around the NBA about specific players, and a lot of those narratives. Some of those narratives are good, some of those narratives are bad. So, of course, the show was created to kind of give its own take on certain narratives. So I'm gonna give this take on B, and I've been on Wax. I've already said it. Me and Petty both agreed that we felt like at least last season Brian was one of the more underrated players. And I and Brian, remember this. I think I was the first person to draft Bryant when you first came into the league. I drafted you at the center spot when we had the Z Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And without a shadow of a doubt, and there was a lot of good players that I drafted that season that were very underwhelming. Bryant was hands down the most consistent, best player on that team. Period. And he played the center position. And I'll say it again. He was by far the most consistent player on that team. Now, we are two 2Ks away from that. You know, this was very different. So, and as we mentioned, there's not a lot of we talk about bigs going off the board, but how many dominant bigs do we have? One of them is a captain.
Right.
So after that,
Yeah.
you know, who else names can you mention? You know, so they talk about centers going off the board first. And to me, there's not a lot of great centers. There are some great centers, but they're just not a bulk of them. There's not a lot of great point guards, but there are some, but not a bulk of them. The bulk of where I'm seeing is two ways. So
Yeah.
how valuable,
Yeah.
and we'll start with Yote, how valuable is a two-way in this particular season of two when the lane steals are absolutely insane?
Man, the fact that you're mentioning that, because we all know that two ways, they're pretty OP just because of the animations they get in the lanes. But that's why I feel like it's even more so important to have a good point guard.
Mm.
Because a good
Yep.
point guard recognizes that this is an issue, man. These guys can steal the ball just like in a blink of an eye. So you have to make decisions ahead of what you see, and you got to be able to see the player. You got to be a few steps ahead to be able to make the right play. So because two ways put that pressure on PGs, I think that when we're talking about value, the two ways make needing a point guard more valuable, a good point guard more valuable. So because of that being the fact, I think it's very vital that a captain has to pay attention to that and draft accordingly to make sure that they got the personnel to be able to succeed in the league to come. So
Yeah. And I'm gonna get that same question to you before you go. I told B in the mock draft, I had him drafting Ajante first. In the mock draft, I did for you. Now, of course, you got two picks back to back, so it doesn't matter where this pick falls.
yeah.
But I felt like one of your first two picks will be Cody. Cody is one of those two ways, one of the best two ways in the chat as of right now. Knows the jump shot, knows the steal lanes, all these different things. So I feel like he'll still be there in that field spot just because there will be some needs that other players need to get off the board first. But I do think he'll be there. So Brian, how important is two ways for your draft stock? Like how important is that for you?
I think it's very important for me because, like I said, once again, I'm when you look at the captains, uh, I'm not the best out of the group. I'm by far, down kind of at the bottom. We got Keyshawn, we got Oz, and then we got Josh and Yote. All of these guys, which have been, to the chip and also, possibly won a chip. Actually, I think all of them have won a chip.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even won a chip yet. So that's one thing that I'm trying to do. That's the only thing I care about. So I'm looking to, draft, like I said before, a balanced team to where we can win a chip. And a two-way is definitely important because I feel like defense is something that this 2K you have to have the way it's been looking.
Okay. So I got a few more questions. I'm gonna let y'all both go. One of those questions is because I think Brian, you kind of mentioned his name, Keyshawn. He's, to me, he's the wild card of the captains. When I did my mock draft, it was very, very hard for me to get into, because I don't play with him often, to kind of know what he likes, where, I know he plays power forward center. So I was leaning more on the guard lock side, at least in those first couple picks. But how big of a threat is he, or how big of a threat is any captain when you don't know what they're going to do? How does he have a slight advantage, do you feel?
I think he
Or a disadvantage?
well, I know how the last 2K went the first season. I was actually here. I didn't get to play, but I did, see the season. I did actually play on his team a couple of times for that season when he won a chip. They went undefeated and won a chip. But he was playing with his boys. But I think he's going to still try to play that same role at that center position. And one of the things that I know for sure he's going to need a point guard. Um, Ajante is definitely the one I think he's going to try to get in the first round because, that's his boy for one, and then two, everybody knows Ajante's like that number one point guard you want to have, uh, going into this league. So
Yeah.
he needs a point guard, a commanding, point guard that's going to be able to lead the offense and do like Yote said. I feel like he's going to more lead the defense side. And then the other pieces, I feel like he's going to, fill in where he wants to fill in at.
Yeah. So same question to you, Yo.
Mhm.
Keep out Keyshawn.
Yeah, man. I think it's either gonna go really well or really bad because I mean I'm sure he's familiar with a few of the players in the league, but the vast majority no, because he just doesn't run that often. Um, but because I think he's a four, right? He's a power forward or a small forward. That's one of
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah, I think he's 4 or 5. Yeah.
Okay,
From what
Yeah,
so
he
I hear.
plays the four.
so he has the capability of he really can't mess up his picks. All he needs is a really good point guard and a center. I just don't know how much intel that he has on some of the guys in the league.
Right.
I mean, it could be the equivalent of a kid with a gun. You don't know what he gonna do. You don't know if he gonna
Yep.
shoot in the right direction or the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he shoots in the wrong direction and he leaves some people on the board. Because I do have, and it's interesting that you say that Cody could be my first pick. I think having back-to-back picks and having the ability to run small forward or point guard,
Yeah,
man, anything goes. I
it
just know
does.
for sure that I will be prioritizing the center, but
Mhm.
that second or first, however they fall, it doesn't matter because they back to back. I don't know. I know Cody has been a knockdown shooter. He's the most consistent shooter I've seen so far. He's gonna always be a two-way. That's something about Cody that has
Yeah.
never been the case. He's gonna always be a two-way, dangerous person in the lanes. So if he's available, I definitely would consider it depending on the center that's available. The center is going to determine where I go with the rest of my picks
Mm.
because that's so important. I feel like that is so important in this 2K.
And it's especially when you have a very dominant center that's a captain.
Yeah,
I don't know much about Keyshawn, but I hear that Keyshawn is pretty good as well, whether he plays center or power forward. And then,
yeah,
and I'm just gonna be honest, I just don't think Kyle will be there. I just don't.
yeah.
If I just don't. That's just my opinion. But I mean, I could be
Mhm.
wrong. Depending on what people value,
Yeah.
So the other thing, and this will be the last thing.
Mhm.
So I'll address this question to Brian first. So you've mentioned quite a bit. What you've mentioned several different times was winning a chip, winning a chip. So as a captain that's has the floor here now to speak to the players, and we're just gonna be honest, it's because of the narratives we've vocally heard some people say that they would rather you not pick them. Me personally, and you'll hear me say this on episode 1, they don't have to play.
Yeah.
That we all created this, this league for fun, to have fun with each other's brothers. So, to me, they could have been a captain. I think
Yeah.
James said that they could have been a captain. So draft that the team that's going to help you do exactly what you're looking to do, which is win. So with that being said, like what do you have to say? Like, what are you looking for in players? Like what is to expect if because I'm a player too, if we are drafted by Bryant's team?
Was that
Was
question
that
for me?
That was Bryant. That was Bryant.
Okay.
my bad? Yeah, because I was you say all right. Say that one more time.
What's to be expected if a player is drafted by Bryant's team? Like I've heard you mention, over and over that you're looking to win, but like what's to be expected if you are going to be playing for the organization? The Duke
Consi-
organization at that. The Duke organization.
uh, consistency. As far as the way you play, and I think I'm looking for somebody that's willing to buy in. All hands on. And wants it as bad as I do. You know, I don't think there's anybody that wants it as bad as me at this point. Because I feel like everybody pretty much in this league has a ring. I feel like I'm an outcast right now because I'm the only one that don't. So um, and then also availability. Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like practice is very important for team chemistry. So those are the main things. That I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So consistency, availability, buying in, all those things are super important. Agree with that wholeheartedly. And I also agree that you may be the hungriest. And that's only because Yote has now won 2 back-to-back. Because before that, I think he was definitely the hungriest. And Cognac may have something to say about that too at this point. So like,
Yeah.
so for you, Yote, like, obviously at this point we see, you were, and I'll give you 3 seasons back to back because you filled in a role for us um as a reserve to help
Yeah.
us win the chip. Then you came into the league as a free agent with James. You helped James and Lion get their first chip, and along with getting your first chip as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you won, a second chip is back to back, to season to season. So this could very well be the very first ever, individual that could go back to back to back as an individual.
Repeat.
Uh, so what's number one? What's to expect if you get drafted by, your particular team? Because now at this particular moment, your your greatness, quote unquote. Some people don't like that word, but
Greg won't like it.
yeah, he won't. Yeah, he won't like
He
that
won't
word.
like it.
So at this particular moment, though, it's preceding you. Winning is a thing now for you. So like, what's to expect if you're drafted by Team Yote?
Truth be told, similar to what Brian said, you just gotta be willing to buy in. You gotta be okay with um assuming a role that will ultimately contribute to, the ultimate destination is a championship. So if you don't feel like you can play a role, or you have premeditated expectations of what you're gonna do, then just let me know. You can just reach out to me on the side, and I'll make sure I won't draft you. But you got to be willing to buy in, because it wasn't up until last season where I saw that buying in meant a lot. And JP, shout out to JP, was
Yeah,
um, one of those players on our team who bought in, and it paid off big time.
yeah,
It paid off big time. So as long as you have a winning attitude, those are some of the things that naturally comes along. The humbleness to do what you need to do for the team.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So honestly, it's just about as short and sweet as that can get. So
yeah. So players buy in, buy in, and
yeah,
and to the captains that I've vocally said I won't buy in, I'll buy in. Okay, just want to make sure I throw it out there.
for sure, absolutely. I'm not
Unless,
drafting names. That's one thing about me. I don't care about no name because I'm a name myself, so I don't care
yeah,
about like the names and they can. I've seen some of the best names on paper lose. So,
yeah,
and I've been a part of those, unfortunately, on those teams that have a lot of names and we lost.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't care about that.
Yeah, I hope that the days of names are gone because we've, as you just mentioned, I've seen a bunch of names go up in big playoff moments against a team that they, we all felt they could have beat, but because of the
Yeah.
chemistry and the, just having a good team, you know, you can see what that does and buying in. So,
Hmm.
very, very, very true. So, hey, man, once again, I appreciate you guys, pulling up to the show,
For sure.
showing some love. I think that, talking to you guys as captain, that's only gonna help other players who, number one, are looking to do the same thing. I mean, we're all here for that reasons, man. I've already vocally said myself, this particular 2K, I'm trying to pull a yoke. I'm trying to get two of them. I'm trying to get two
Yeah.
out of this 2K. I don't know how many seasons we're gonna have, but I if I could get two of them out the way, I mean, that's what I'm looking to do. So, and that's what
Yeah.
everybody's looking to do. So, but everybody says that, but the actions of the buying in, I think what you mentioned, the buying in is going to be so very important to buying into whatever role, people decide or the captain decides to put you in. So either way,
Yeah.
man, I appreciate you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys are, going to do your proper homework, figure out what's going to work best for you and your
Yeah.
talents and with the teams as well. So appreciate you guys showing love, watching Narrative, man. Thank you. We out.
Oh yeah.